Objection, Your Honor, foundation.
102. You got me confused. You said 2. Now you got, yeah.
Did I say two?
Yeah. And
I apologize, Your Honor, it's 102.
that's why I had this look on my face.
I'm sorry.
102.
102, Your Honor.
And which, is there an objection?
Yes, Your Honor, this was offered as a demonstrative and we're fine with that. But if it's going to be offered as an exhibit, it lacks foundation and no authentication.
Well. Okay,
Ms. Hunt?
wait. Let me roll. I think that's what the witness has done, is she's testified as to her understanding, and that's what this represents, her understanding of the system as the law is. And your objection next might be?
My objection is I'd like to know where she got it, who created it.
Did you make this chart, diagram, whatever you want to call it, Ms. Honey?
I made it in PowerPoint.
And did you make this based upon your?
Thank you, Your Honor. Based on that, no objection.
Great. 102 is admitted. Thank you.
All right, can we go back to the slide and move on to the next one?
Which exhibit?
Oh, the demonstrative is I'm sorry, the PowerPoint.
I'm sorry.
All right, can you tell us what this slide shows, Ms. Honey?
Yeah, so this slide shows that in a lot of counties, a Dropbox is only for a place for people, an alternative to returning their mail ballot by mail. But in Maricopa County, the Dropboxes are in fact a repository for a ballot that's mailed to a voter that they choose not to return by postal service. But it's also where people who vote early in person, who go into a vote center, show their ID, they they get their ballot printed, they vote, put it in an envelope, and they sign the envelope and they drop that ballot envelope into a Dropbox. So when we talk about Dropbox ballot retrieval for early voting, it includes early in-person and mail ballots that are deposited in a Dropbox as well. So it's those two different types of Dropbox ballots.
Okay. And so I believe you had testified previously that you have reviewed all of the early ballot EVBTSs. And it's my understanding you praised Maricopa County for having improved their documents and actually followed their procedures?
Yes, on the documents that were completed, but again, there's the absence of documents for election day ballots, which again is a significant number.
Okay, well, your FOIA request, well, my client's FOIA request requested all the chain of custody documents for Maricopa County on election day, correct?
Correct.
Have they provided any to you?
Yes, they actually provided all of the documents that we requested, with the exception of the Maricopa County delivery receipt form.
Okay, the Maricopa County delivery receipt form. Can you please tell the court what that is?
So from the Dropbox, the early voting ballot transport statement is used to document the chain of custody from the drop of ballots inside that transport container. And they record that precise count of ballots on the early voting ballot of ballots inside that transport container. And they record that precise count of ballots on the early voting ballot transport statement. From there, again, this is unique to Maricopa County. Maricopa County election officials then create this delivery receipt form, which is like a half sheet. And that has on it the precise count of the ballots that they are then loading on a truck and transferring to Runbeck. The larger thing there, the thing that has the number 3 on it, is a document that's created at Runbeck, basically just saying, hey, this is how many ballots were dropped off. So, and to answer your question, what we did not receive is the number 2, the delivery receipts.
Whoa.
PowerPoint, you want to open exhibit number 67.
I couldn't hear you because you turned away.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, 67. All right, Ms. Honey, you were talking about the early voting ballot transport statement. Is this it?
I mean, that's one of them. This one is from ASU West from October 25th.
Okay, by one of them, you mean there were many of these?
Yes, so there's one of these forms for each day that a drop box is open. So if there are 50 drop boxes open on a particular day, there are 50 of these forms created because there are 50 retrievals of ballots.
And you reviewed all of these?
We did?
And already moved this one into evidence?
I don't have that you did.
I don't believe I did.
No.
Move it 67 into evidence, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor?
67's admitted.
Do you have any problem with any of these statements for the early voting period?
No.
No, you've reviewed them all.
Yeah, I mean, I think they, like I said, they did a much better job.
So could you actually go through all of these and up and figure out exactly how many ballots Maricopa County retrieved from drop boxes?
I think they, like I said, they did a much better job.
So could you actually go through all of these and up and figure out exactly how many ballots Maricopa County retrieved from drop boxes up until the day of the election?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, and you can do that.
Yes.
Is that what you're supposed to be able to do?
Well, I mean, on a daily basis, yeah. I mean, you have to do it for each and every retrieval according to the law.
All right. Thank you very much. And so transport receipt again, that, what is that?
So the delivery receipt is, again, that half sheet that I had on the display there, which is created at Maricopa County at MECTEC that accompanies the ballots as they travel from Maricopa County to Runbeck, so that when they arrive at Runbeck, Runbeck knows precisely how many ballots are on that shipment.
Do you have all of Maricopa County delivery receipt documents?
We do not have any. We requested them, but they said they had misplaced them.
What?
And those are the ones that were for election day, correct?
Well, actually, we didn't get a single one of those for the entire election. It is the testimony of in the declaration of Runbeck employees that no such documents existed for election day.
For election day.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, what about prior to the election?
Yeah. So this form was actually created for all of the days prior to election day.
I'm sorry, but my question was specifically related to election day. Okay. There were none.
Well, we did not receive any. They said they misplaced them, and the
Whoa.
Runbeck employees said none existed.
Okay. All right. Have you been trying to get the records?
We have.
You know somebody by name?
On behalf of Kari Lake, some of the documents they provided to us electronically, and others they said were in binders, and we had to go and copy them ourselves.
Okay.
So we had a couple of copying of the records.
Have you met Betty?
I have not met Betty.
Then I got to correct.
Copying of the records.
Have you met Betty?
I have not met Betty.
Then I got to correct a misrepresentation to the court, Your Honor. I believe that my witness had. So I apologize and I correct that. Are you familiar with Betty's voicemail?
Well, I called Betty a couple of times to try to get the records, but when they were there actually scanning all of the records, she exchanged business cards with Michelle, who was one of the representatives.
Have you spoken with Betty?
No, she's not responded to my
Never been able
emails.
to get a hold of her.
No.
All right. And can we go to the next slide, please? What is this document again?
So this document is created at Runbeck, and this records the total count of the ballots that are received from the MECTEC delivery truck. And so we break this down into a couple of different ways. The post office inbound is separated because, of course, those are slightly different ballots, and we're not really talking about those today. But the regular MOB is the mail ballots, right? So that would be the green envelopes. And then you'll see down at the bottom, the CTR, that's the vote center ballots. Those are the white envelopes for early in-person voting.
Okay. All right. And what do these documents really tell you?
So these documents record the number of ballots that are received at Runbeck. So again, this is created at Runbeck, and you'll see like in the line here, this document is dated 11/6, and it is the precise number of pieces of regular MOB and the precise number of pieces of the CTR. And that's because they copy this information from the delivery receipt form, that half sheet that's generated at MEC, and then this form accompanies it, and again, they keep a copy of it, and the other copy goes back with the driver to Maricopa County to document that, in fact, he did take the ballots as he was supposed to, delivered them to the possession of Runbeck, and completes that chain of custody.
Okay, so these then are created by Runbeck when Maricopa County officials drop ballots off at their third party.
Correct. It's the driver, though, so it's not like actually the recorder, anybody doing that delivery.
Understood. And so Runbeck employees, they simply estimate the number of ballots?
No, just to make distinction. For the post office inbound,
Mhm.
what happens is the driver, if they're, stops, sometimes he makes a special delivery, but sometimes he also stops on the way. So he'll go to the U.S. Postal Facility.
I'm going to check for another feed, having some audio issues, but while I do that, you can see how adding drop boxes to the equation causes a lot of issues for chain of custody. Because everything you have to do, you just multiply it by more and more and more. And if you don't have a tight chain of custody, then you could have problems. I'm going to look for better audio.
Deliver the ballots to Maricopa County. The driver goes to the facility in Phoenix, and then he loads the trays of mail ballots onto the truck, and then that is taken to Runbeck. And for those ballots, they count the number of trays, number of postal trays, and they estimate that. There is a receipt that accompanies the post office ballots, but Maricopa County does not use that to record the precise number. However, they started preserving that at Runbeck.
Okay, so Runbeck has started preserving documents obtained from the United States Postal Service. How many ballots the U.S. Postal Service was transferring to Maricopa County's care and control?
Objection, Your Honor.
Is that your understanding?
Hold on, there's an objection.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness said the post office provides estimates, not counts of the number of ballot packages.
Shaking her head, no, Your Honor, that's not what she said.
What she said? Well,
That's fine. I'll ask the question.
Rephrase it.
Another way.
thank you.
Based upon your knowledge, training, experience with respect to Maricopa County chain of custody and election-related mail ballots, do you know if the Postal Service provides receipts showing the exact number of mail-in ballots that the United States Postal Service is transferring to Maricopa County?
Right. Yes. The answer to that is, it is my understanding that they do. They tuck them into trays. So it's, again, my understanding that they're difficult to find, but that's how they base how much they're going to charge. That's like how they bill for the postage. So that's how they.
Receipt, or at least the Maricopa County driver, it's a receipt from the Postal Service that says essentially how many pieces of mail ballots were delivered to Maricopa County driver, correct?
That is my understanding.
Does the county maintain those documents?
So to my knowledge, they didn't turn any over to us. So let me just start with that. We didn't receive any in response to our request for those public records. But it's also my understanding that that the Runbeck employees attempted to return them to Maricopa County, and they said they didn't need them.
Okay. And so is there any way to tell, other than this inbound receipt given by Runbeck County driver, exactly how many ballots left Maricopa County? And so I would like to exhibit Yeah, go to 66.
The audio on this one's kind of ambient, almost like they're on speaker.
Trucks coming with no corresponding
one.
documentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Honey. And so I would like to exhibit the 66. Oh, this is PowerPoint? Yeah, go to 66.
On 66.
66.
Thank you.
If you look at the screen, Miss Honey, these look like the Maricopa audit challenges receipts.
Yes.
Okay. I'd move to admit exhibit 66 into the record, Your Honor.
No objection. 66 is admitted.
Thank you. Okay, go back to the PowerPoint. Miss Honey. How many ballots the Maricopa County claim they received on election day that were not tabulated out?
So I think your question is how many drop-off ballots did they report?
Yes.
So initially, on the morning after the election, they reported that there had been 275,000. I think that Stephen Richer said approximately 275,000 drop-box ballots had been dropped off on election day.
Did that number change?
That number did change.
What's the number now?
I believe that the number went from the 275 on the 9th. They also had a press conference during which at the conference, Recorder Richer also talked about what an extraordinary number the 275 was.
Miss Honey, that was not my question. My question was, what is the number now?
I believe they ultimately said it was 292,000 that had been dropped off at drop boxes.
As you sit here today, how many of those ballots have legal chain of custody?
Based on the documents provided, none.
Honor, objection calls for conclusion.
Rule 701.
Wait. You're asking her according to her understanding from what she's experienced and observed. What's her number?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you can answer it, go ahead and answer it.
Yeah, so we reviewed all of the documents provided by Maricopa County in response to our requests, and the answer is that none of the documents that they created meet the requirements from the EPM.
No. You had the opportunity to talk to somebody from Runback following this.
I did.
And have you had an opportunity to read that Runback employee's declaration?
I did.
All right. And so I would like to, let's see here. Well, now if I can find her. "46. And while he's pulling this up, Your Honor, may I ask the court a quick procedural question?
Go ahead.
When we began this morning, Your Honor noted that it would be unduly difficult to get this many witnesses through, so it said it was going to admit the declarations, with the exception of Kurt Olson's, that were attached to the complaint, Your Honor. And,
I'll say that.
well, I'm sorry, then I misunderstood.
I know what I said, but I know where you're going. You want to admit those now?
I would like to, yes, Your Honor, admit Leslie White and
Ms. White's was,
Denise Marie and Leslie White. And those are listed as Denise Marie is Exhibit 46, Leslie White is Exhibit 47.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Liddy.
Objection hearsay, Your Honor.
Very well. All of your objections were preserved. These are two of the ones that I had listed specifically this morning and told you that I needed the numbers. Now I have the numbers for at least two of these. Okay. So your objections are all preserved. All three defendants have joined. They were in writing under the Rule 807 notice. And so over your objection, I'm going to admit 46 and 47.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Honey, the Rundeck employee, Denise, did she tell you that, did she tell you about any problems that Rundeck with respect to chain of custody?
Yes, she expressed her concern over the fact that the procedure that had been well established throughout the election was not used for the large number of election day Dropbox ballots that were received.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I want to object and move to strike everything that was just said there. While the declaration was admitted, now we have this witness testifying about separate hearsay statements made by this Denise individual who allegedly used to work at Runback. This seems to me to be a separate issue from the admission of the declaration itself. And I just want to clarify that the hearsay objection extends to any hearsay testimony that this witness will offer in addition to what may or may not be in the declaration.
Your Honor, the county joins that objection.
Which exhibit was in it? This is
Denise
Marie or
yes, Denise Marie 46.
46.
And Your Honor, I'm not asking any questions outside the scope of this declaration.
Your Honor, if the declaration is in evidence, it's in evidence now over our objection. This witness shouldn't be able to repeat hearsay again and in a sense put Ms. Marie's words into her own mouth that Ms. Marie said them herself in the declaration. The court can consider Ms. Marie's declaration, giving it whatever weight it deems fit, but to have this witness repeat what is already hearsay again, I think is inappropriate.
Okay. We're not going to go back and forth. Here's, I believe, as I told Mr. Olson earlier, the court does not pronounce somebody an expert, but if they're testifying and they have information, experience or education beyond that of the trier of fact, it's instructive or informative. And this witness, I find, meets that. If she's relying upon this, which she has just said, to formulate her opinions, let her do that. I understand the objection is that it's hearsay, but that's something that you can cross-examine. For instance, if that's incorrect, then I'm not going to tell you how to cross-examine. You already understand all of that. So, Mr. Clinton, proceed, please.
Okay, so lack of chain of custody was one of her concerns.
It was.
You talked to Leslie White as well?
I did.
Was lack of chain of custody one of her concerns?
Yeah, so Leslie was actually an observer at MECTEC on the election night when the ballots were received back from the drop boxes. And her concern was that specifically the seals were being removed from the transport containers and the ballots inside were not counted. That was a requirement as she understood it. And the fact that they were just taking those ballots out of the transport containers without counting them was her primary concern.
And then, okay, so we have two different people you have spoken to working in two different places, correct?
Correct.
One's here at Runbeck, the third-party vendor, and one's here at MECTEC, right?
Correct.
MCTech?
Mhm.
All right. And both of them are both telling you that there is no chain of custody on election day for ballots being transported from MCTech to Runbeck. Is that correct?
Correct. They weren't following the legal requirements for chain of custody. So there were seals on the containers when they transported them, but the specific issues were that they were just cutting them open, taking the ballots out, putting them in trays without regard to how many, and there was no documentation. There were handbags and purses where they were processing the ballots. That was
All right. With respect to sorry, I just lost my train of thought. With respect to Denise White, did she have other concerns with you regarding potential vulnerabilities with our election system in Maricopa County?
Yeah, so two issues, right? So the first one was that the trucks were coming with ballots, that there was no associated count, right? So that was number one. They just didn't know how many they should have had. So she was concerned about that. But then after the election, on the evening of November 9th, right? So November 8th is election day, November 9th in the evening, she was called by her supervisor and asked to go down to the system and actually pool the total number of ballot packets that had gone through the system to provide a count to Maricopa County.
Why?
Well, I don't know.
Hearsay on this as well.
I'll withdraw the question, Your Honor. Improper, I admit. Okay, and so. And that is to go find what the numbers are to report those to Maricopa County because they don't know.
Objection, Your Honor, again, foundation.
Is that what she told you?
County joins.
Great. What I told you before, I'm going to assume all the defendants join the other objections that you've made. Okay. And your objection is speculation or?
Your Honor, I guess foundation and speculation. And I just want to make clear that we have a continuing objection to any of these continued hearsay conversations that this witness is relaying.
So noted.
I'm almost done, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
I'm almost done.
And I
That doesn't take care of this question.
was just going to say, Your Honor, that the question was, what did she say and then why? And now we're getting into this witness's motivations, which is now beyond hearsay and pure speculation and lacks foundation.
My understanding was it was calling for this witness to speculate about why Maricopa County did something. And so rephrase the question.
Did this witness tell you that she was concerned about how Maricopa County was conducting operations with respect to drop box ballots?
Yes.
Did this witness, Denise,
Oh, shoot.
did she also tell you about possible vulnerabilities where people can inject ballots into this system?
Right. So what she said that Runbeck employees were permitted, almost like it was a perk of employment, to bring their ballots from home. So their ballots from home, their family members' ballots, bring them from home and add them to the inbound scans.
Is that consistent with Arizona law?
No. So
You're asking for her understanding, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
these were permitted, almost like it was a perk of employment, to bring their ballots from home. So their ballots from home, their family members' ballots, bring them from home and add them to the inbound scans.
Is that consistent with Arizona law?
No. So
You're asking for her understanding, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your understanding, ma'am, if you can answer it based on that.
it is my understanding that ballots must be returned to an authorized drop-off location. Maricopa County publishes a list of those authorized drop-off locations, and Runbeck Elections is not one of those.
All right. Are you familiar with these social media posts I put up here?
I am.
Okay. And this is, these are tweets by Maricopa County Elections Department, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'd move to admit these are, Your Honor, Exhibit 63.
Mr. Blem, can you bring this back up on the screen? I want to be sure.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't take it off that. I think we need to go back a page or something. I'm looking.
Give the defendants a
Yes,
moment
that.
to look at them.
I'm doing this feed because the audio's the
objections?
best. I hate that you can't see the witness though.
Mr. Blum, I'm sorry, I can't read it. You're averring that that's an actual tweet from
Just
Stephen
walk up there
Richards, is
and
that right?
I can have my witness read it.
Just walk
No, I,
I'm just a little bit 11.
In case you're wondering how important Twitter is, we got election integrity case and they're showing tweets.
No objection, no objection.
He might have
very well. That was 63 that will be admitted.
Are you familiar?
Your Honor, hold on, can we?
We
be
believe
sure
it's-
about the number.
You believe it's 70, Your Honor?
That's 63. 63?
Those are not, that's not Stephen Richard.
Did I say that was Stephen Richard?
70?
I'm
Is there,
looking at 63. I pull them up as you discuss them.
that's 70. Yeah, 70 is Stephen Richard's quote. Okay.
Which one are we,
It's numbered on the sheet we received. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
which one are we moving, Mr. Blem?
I am, I think I might have written these down backwards, Your Honor. I'm going to move to exhibit 70.
Oh no.
Well,
And then-
before you're going to get to 63, I think that you looked at 63 defendants, correct? Did you have any objection to 63?
Your Honor, I have not looked at 63, but I did look at 70 and we have no objection to 70.
Take a look at.
Oh, is this 63 right here? Okay, just one moment.
Thank you.
No objection, Your Honor.
Are you moving 63 and 70 into evidence, Mr.
Yes, Your
Blem?
Honor.
They're admitted.
Thank you. Okay, and so this is a, 60.
70 or 63?
63. 63, let's go to 60.
That's 63.
Just 63. Are you familiar with the tweets that are up here from Stephen, Recorder Richard?
Yes.
And is this where he was saying there were 275,000 ballots?
Yeah, there was a series of tweets, after the day after the election, where he explains that they had processed all of the ballots and transferred them to Runback. And again, it was 275,000 was the number. He says over 275 plus. Obviously, it's a round number, right? It's 000. So, and it's not
That's what?
exact.
May I approach you?
You may.
I am losing track what's happening.
In this tweet, Recorder Richard says, last night from midnight to 5 a.m., we sorted those 275 plus thousand documents for ballots so they could be scanned in and image captured at Runback.
Correct.
Signature captured. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does that indicate that those ballots had already been sent to Runback at some point, at that time or some point after?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation and foundation.
If they
Speaks for
had,
itself.
wait,
It speaks for itself, and Mr. Richard was on the stand, they could have.
I was going to withdraw the question.
That'll work. Withdrawn. Thank you.
And I'll be
Did they
honest,
count these ballots?
I'm pausing just for a second. I'll be honest, I'm lost. I'm completely lost as to what's happening because it's kind of disjointed.
Before
So,
they put them in a truck and sent them to Runback.
okay, here we
There
go.
are no,
Foundation again.
Which ballots? Rephrase, please.
275, Mr. Richards talking about.
Same
Just-
objection.
I'm sorry. Rephrase the whole question for the witness, please.
Okay. Do you have any evidence they counted these ballots before they put them in a truck, departed from the Maricopa County facility with ballots from Maricopa County residents and delivered them to a third party?
there's no record that they counted any of them.
Whoa.
Did Maricopa County, knowing we had these claims, come here with their exhibits saying, hey, look, no harm, no foul. Sorry, we got them to you late.
Objection, Your Honor.
Yes or no?
Argumentative.
Hold on.
Okay,
What?
I'll strike
David
that.
for
I'll go-
closing. Sustained.
Wow.
Did you, Miss Honey, have a chance to review the documents Maricopa County submitted as exhibits before this court?
Yes,
Did they provide those missing documents?
they did not.
They provide any documents that will allow them or their witnesses
to sit up here before this court and do the math.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation and foundation.
She has
Yeah.
reviewed
You can rephrase it by saying to her knowledge.
to your knowledge.
The judge
Miss
is
Honey,
open.
will they be able to put witnesses up before this court and do the math based on their own disclosures and exhibit?
No, to my knowledge, no. And I will like to also expand that we looked at the chain of custody documents that they did use on election day, which are those are called the precinct ballot reports. And the precinct ballot reports are really the chain of custody for those voted ballots that come from the vote center on election day. And it also includes, by the way, a count of the door 3 ballots. Those documents, which I on one of these exhibits here.
Objection, Your Honor, I'm going to move to strike everything that witness just said about the precinct-based ballots as being completely non-responsive to the question.
I'm,
They keep I'm kind of losing it because they keep interrupting. What's going on? Is it audio?
Re-ask the question. I'm too busy trying to follow, take notes, and keep up with the two.
He can't even keep up with it.
Yeah,
The
good
judge
question.
can't.
well, to use an old adage, that's the road we're getting ready to hoe, Your Honor. So we'll just start from scratch and then we'll go down that road. And so I believe we pulled up what has been marked as Exhibit 65. What is that document, Ms. Honey?
This is an example of a precinct ballot report.
Precinct ballot report. What are they?
These are the documents, according to the Maricopa County Poll Worker Training and the Poll Worker Manual. These are the documents that are used when they close the polling places to provide chain of custody for the voted ballots that are, voted on election day. In addition to that, the poll worker training requires the poll workers to empty the drop boxes of all of the early voting ballots and place those in a container. And of course, there's no counting of those ballots. There's nowhere on this form to record a number is the point of this.
Ms. Honey. Anywhere in this form,
It's audio.
can you find, well, I'm gonna withdraw that, strike that. Did you have a chance to review each and every?
I'm trying a
one of
different
these
audio.
documents? I'm delighted to you.
I'm not feeling the audio. I can't follow.
384 in that example. That's how many ballots were contained in the black bag. Is that correct?
Correct. If they followed the procedure, the misread ballots, the 101 would have been transported separately in that blue tote as well.
All right, if Recorder Richard hypothetically were to testify that, oh no, I'm not responsible for drop boxes on election day, would that be accurate?
It's my understanding, according to the EPM, that it specifically makes the recorder or the recorder's designee responsible for the secure retrieval of ballots deposited in drop boxes. So it would be my understanding that that applies to election day. There is no exception to the requirements for election day.
Thank you, Miss Honey. Oh, now I forgot what exhibit it is, Your Honor. Exhibit number 65, I move it into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection. No objection, Your Honor.
65 is admitted.
Thank you. You had an opportunity to review some of Recorder Richard's emails. Is that not correct?
Yes.
All right. And I'm looking for them on my list right now, but
They're on the PowerPoint.
what?
They're on the PowerPoint.
Oh, they're on the PowerPoint. Thank you,
Oh,
Miss
Lord.
Harmon.
This is why
I do wanna finish
GB's.
the PowerPoint.
GB.
All right. I just want,
She's laughing at the lawyer.
I don't want Miss Honey to be duplicative for the court. But I do kind of want to, I think Recorder Richard's email is exceptionally important. And I believe I moved this into evidence earlier, Your Honor.
What is it? What number?
Richard's, S. M1 on our list.
Yeah, this lawyer is struggling with the procedural stuff.
Exhibit number 69.
Kari Lake's lawyer.
I think on it early this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, these are 69, Your Honor.
I think that was a minute earlier. Okay, yeah, they're,
I think so.
they're in.
This morning, Your Honor.
But I don't know what's happening.
I think it's already admitted this morning.
Go to the last page in this exhibit. Miss Honey. Aside from making guesses, did Recorder Richard, based on documents, really know exactly how many ballots Maricopa County had in its possession?
Objection. So it calls for her speculation, and Recorder Richard was on the stand this morning. He could have asked the recorder that.
I believe it did, Your Honor. Really know exactly how many ballots Maricopa County had in its possession.
Objection.
Man, they are
So it
really.
calls for her speculation, and Recorder Richard was on the stand this morning. He could have asked the recorder that.
I believe it did, Your Honor. And my question was related to, based on county documents, does Mr. Recorder Richard have any clue as to how many ballots he has aside from an estimate? Based on county records.
And I make the same objection that it calls for speculation, Your Honor, as to what Recorder Richard, how he
No.
understands county documents.
Right.
But it's a
I believe
factor,
the
not.
question can be phrased in
Yeah.
terms of, does any of the documentation show or provide a method where someone, any
The judge is
county
having
person
to
would know.
correct and
Does
help
any of
Kari
the
Lake's.
documentation show that Recorder Richard had any idea how many ballots he had on election day, other than, mere guesses?
No.
The exhibit on the board. What does it say?
It's an email from Stephen Richer. It looks like it's Thursday, the 10th, so 2 days after the election. And he says he's unable to reconcile. Basically, there's a 15,000 difference somewhere.
That was a Gateway Pundit article.
And
I believe they broke it, or just the news, one of them.
Unable to reconcile.
But-
The number he throws out is 15,000 though, right? Yeah, don't know where these come from. Is that any way to run an election, Miss Honey?
Objection, Your Honor. I want to the extent the editorial comment was embedded in that question, it should be stricken.
Which part of the question?
Your Honor, I can't even remember what the exact wording was.
They are
I
Blake.
can't either, Your Honor. It's
You
been
want-
a- it's been a long week.
Maybe if Ben could re-ask the question, we could avoid the.
I don't even remember what it was, Your Honor. I'm not sure how I'm gonna re-ask it.
Go ahead.
All right, Miss Honey. Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Oh, really quickly before I stop, I want to move in Exhibit 69, Your Honor.
The objection to 69?
I think not. I think it was already admitted this morning, but I don't believe we have any other objection.
You're correct. It was admitted this morning.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you.
That's a different Kari
All right,
Lake
thank
lawyer
you.
than this morning, right? The lawyer this morning I thought was really good. This guy, I don't think he's bad. He's just so, man, he's just like all over the place.
Just one moment.
I don't know what's happening. Okay, here we go. Cross. Is that what? Audio's going, man. I like this
Yeah,
feed
Ms.
because
Sonny.
Hold on a second.
Sorry.
I like this feed better because I feel like I can follow what's happening better for
I
some
think
reason,
that
but it's the
We
audio's
should be
going out.
taking an afternoon break for the sake of my court reporters' carpal
No,
tunnel syndrome.
I
if
gotta
we
go.
don't.
Well, not
so,
yet, but
I would rather take the break now than start in and then take a break in 10 minutes. So
okay. Well, let's
let's
talk
recess
about it.
I'm not going to do the math. Whatever until 3 o'clock, we'll come back at 3 and resume with the cross-examination. Okay?
Thank you.
Go off the record until then. Thank you.
All right, I'll keep a monitor on the feed and bring it back when they're back. But there we go. I actually had to leave today. I would not have gone, but I had to pick up glasses. This is the first time I've ever worn glasses. Look like bifocals. I picked them up. I was like, "Are these bifocals, bro?" He's like, "It's a pretty strong." He's like, "It's a pretty strong prescription. These are the cheap glasses." But I have contacts, but I just don't like wearing them all the time. So I want something to. That's why I look like Poindexter. Got the black Poindexter. What's up? It's Osiris. This trial is so serious. I had to pick up some glasses to make sure I could see the comments, and because without them, you could see me squinting and stuff. That's kind of whack. It's an important trial. Thanks for hanging out. Now let me recap that part of the trial. I'm gonna have to re-listen to, and I think it's being done on purpose, where the defense is objecting over and over and over to break up the rhythm, and the judge isn't being annoyed by it. He had that one statement where he's like, "Well, your objection is going to apply to all this," but that wasn't even that. So if the judge isn't going to be annoyed, then why wouldn't you? It's like playing a video game and someone keeps pausing it. You're like, "Damn, would you stop pausing the game? I'm in the middle of something." So I kind of lost track with the chain of custody. Let's look at this. Let me look at the. I'm going to bring this up real quick. We talked about this earlier. I think it's worth going through again, especially. I don't know if anybody in the chat's a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but this order here gave some clues to how the judge was thinking, and respect to the judge. I think the judge has been absolutely fair. I give the judge respect. I think the judge has been very fair. Okay, let me bring up the Kari Lake. I keep bringing this up. I should have it saved by now. Keep going back to it. We're getting into the chain of custody part of it, and my thought was you don't need intent. Either it was followed or not. But what you do need is proof that the chain of custody, that first of all, the judge agrees that the chain of custody was not followed by law, and then it would have to be enough votes. The 15,000, that wasn't even necessarily a chain of custody. It was just trying to prove, hey, there's no chain of custody, and they don't even know, they can't reconcile. But 15,000 is not enough. So the judge would have to go back and say, okay, I agree with you on chain of custody, but would it be enough to overturn? Here's where the complaints were, and part 4 is the chain of custody. So part 4 right here, let me keep scrolling. Make sure I'm sharing my screen. I am not. Part 4 is the ballot chain of custody. Plaintiff next claims that violations of the county election manual pertaining to chain of custody constitutes misconduct. Okay, that one, the ability of the county's ballot contractor. This is the Runback or whatever group we're talking about. Runback. That I haven't heard family members. Did I miss that? Or are they just going in general now? But they made a specific claim, the abilities of employees of the county's ballot contractor to add ballots of family members. That's very specific. The lack of an inbound receipt of delivery form both constitute misconduct. So, yeah, they don't need any intent here. Defendants dispute of the lack of compliance with the chain of custody laws and claim that plaintiff has misunderstood the forms as required, as presented. Whether the county complied with its own manual and applicable statutes is a dispute of fact. Yes, so it's good. Either they did or they didn't. rather than one of law. This is true as to whether such lack of compliance was both. Oh, so they did. Wait a second. This is true whether it was intentional. This is true as to whether such lack of compliance. I'm confused by what that means. Maybe somebody in the chat. Why are we bringing up intent here? As presented, whether the county complied, whether they complied with their own statutes, its own manual, is a dispute of fact. This is true as to whether such lack of compliance was both intentional and did in fact result in a changed outcome. Wow, that almost does look like intent. Why would you need intent if they didn't? So I'm not sure, but at the end of the day, if they have to show intent, they don't have that. Kari Lake, it ain't happening. If she has to prove intent on both of them, I don't think it can happen. If she has to prove intent, I actually think the count 2 is more likely now. Now I gotta get used to wearing glasses, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's my camera or me, but I don't need them right now. But I don't know. Let me see what you're saying in the chat. Metalopoly came up in the chat being like, what happened, Osiris Urkel? Did I do that? We're trying to save a country, man. Metalopoly, we got a country to save. We don't have time for Urkel. I would tell my wife, she has not seen me with these glasses on. She's going to die laughing. Especially when I tell her somebody in the chat said Osiris Urkel back in the day. Brunowski, nah, bro, you got young Thomas Soul vibes. Yeah, that's a little better. I like that a little better. A little Thomas Soul. I can't live up to that. So that might be worse, actually. I'm more like Urkel. Let's just keep it as Urkel, because I don't have much to live up with the Urkel. With the Urkel. You talk about Thomas Soul, those are shoes you don't want to even be in the same sentence with. Thanks for the comments. The right needs to get better of lawfare. I hear you. I don't know. I'm still confused on where I am with Kari Lake's lawyer. Is that a different lawyer? The other lawyer looks like Phil Jackson. Yeah, the one, I don't know if it's the same guy. It sounds like it's not the same guy. The guy from earlier today for Kari Lake was good. He was easy to follow, concise, avoided opportunities for them to object to break his flow. He was excellent. But, sometimes you got one guy handling one side. You can't handle, you're the expert on the count 2. You're the expert on the count 4. Yes, the right needs to get better at lawfare. I would want, I don't know, I wouldn't associate with the right, but you would want a Mark Elias for the right. But the problem is these lawyers get into the courtroom, they get ostracized for supporting and, defending someone like Kari Lake. They can't find the right people. What's his name? The Secretary of Mark Fincham had some 75-year-old, 80-year-old dude who was basically like, I'm basically retired. What are they going to do? Sanction me or disbar me? It's just too much pressure. Just who's gonna represent Trump? Your career is over. You could only represent Trump after that. So they take what they do with Twitter and just use it with everything else. It's like you defended the issue back in the day, the last process. Now you're ostracized. You can't work at any firm. You're disbarred. You've been sanctioned. Who has the courage? You defended a J6er. Now your career's over. They've turned the country into they've turned the country into trying to be like a China. I mean, we're not there, but we're trying to be that with the facade of liberty is what the attempt is. I think pretty soon the facade is just going to go. They're just going to take the facade out. And that's what this trial is important because it does take some of that facade out. Let me see if they're back. They are not back yet. Let's take a look here. Jay Boxa 3, thank you for covering this so well. I live in Arizona, love Lake, and cannot imagine what Hobbs might pull. Hobbs is a good, the defense, and thanks for the comments there. Unfortunately, I probably only have like 10 minutes, but the defense for Hobbs reminds me of Hobbs's personality. It's there's no substance there. It's all, you didn't say this, you didn't do that. It's procedural type of stuff. They even, let's look at the count two from earlier today. I was on live. The count two, even Kari Lake tweeted it out. It came down to, so they print the ballots on these ballots on demand, and they did an inspection yesterday. And the person who did the inspection said, I saw 14 of them, which is a large percentage of them. I don't have the tweet in front of me right now, that were printed on the wrong side. They were printed on 20-inch paper with a 19-inch setting. And they said that wasn't possible other than someone going in and changing it, because the setting for the ballot on demand is done by a server, by a centralized server. So nobody has to go in and forget and make a mistake. You have to go in at a local level and override that. So they never got to the proof of someone did it with the intent of doing something, but they did get to the point of Kari Hobbs' defense did not challenge that someone had to go in and do it. In fact, they said, well, what if? Okay, they were like, so what? So what if somebody did it? It still should have been tabulated, is what Katie Hobbs said. But my take is, okay, it should have been tabulated, then prove me that they were tabulated. So they're making a claim, something they can't prove. I'm not as comfortable with this chain of command, chain of custody. Was there only one section of the chain of custody that they were disproving? And is that going to be enough? From what I heard, it was only one section of the chain of custody that they were so how many ballots was that? I mean, it sounds like it would be, because Kari Lake lost by what, 20-something thousand? So it sounds like it would cover enough, but I don't know for sure. If it doesn't cover enough, then all of this is for naught. The judge is not going to rule anything in her favor. Metalopoulos says, remember how they treated Alan Dershowitz after he defended Trump during impeachment? He's a famous liberal. Yep. Oh yeah. It doesn't matter. They don't care if you're a liberal or what. Like Naomi Wolf is a classic liberal, and Bill Maher, if he steps out, they attack him. They couldn't care less. So it's very dangerous, and that sends a message to citizens. I think that's why a lot of people don't speak out, because they're like, it's not like, why would I risk speaking out and everybody attacking me for my beliefs? So they're coming back. They're back. And I got to be out in like 7 minutes. So you can find this. I'm on Rumble.
All right, we are back on the record in CV 2022-095-403. This is Lake versus Hobbs et al. Present are the parties, are the representatives in council. We have Ms. Heather Honey on the stand, remaining under oath. All right, we are back on the record. And we're ready to begin the cross-examination. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Honey. And thank you for being here today at this trial. I know that all the parties appreciate your attendance. I just have a few
Why am I hearing 2 feet?
questions for you. It's obvious to me that you've done a lot of work to try to understand
Oh my gosh, this RSBN, they're doing 2 feeds at the same time.
elections, and that's more than what a lot of citizens do. But would you agree with me that election law is a complicated area of law? For you.
I would agree with that.
It's obvious to me. And there are a lot of complexities to running an election. Would you agree with that?
Man, RSBN is struggling. They got 2 feeds going.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you ever taken the election officer certification course that's offered by the Secretary of State?
I have not.
Have you
So
ever
what?
worked as an election official in Arizona?
So what?
Have you ever worked as a poll worker in Arizona?
So what?
Ever been an observer at McTech, observing the processes there? And by observer, I mean an election day observer or a ballot count observer, an observer in official capacity at McTech.
No, I've never been a credentialed observer at MetTech.
Okay. You've been to McTech though, correct?
Um, yeah, sort of.
Sort of.
I've not gotten a tour, if that's what you mean. I mean, I've been there, but I haven't gotten a tour.
Okay, all right. Now, you testified that you didn't receive certain forms because you didn't receive those forms, you're assuming that they do not exist?
No, quite the contrary. I know they,
Because you didn't receive those forms, you're assuming that they do not exist?
no, quite the contrary. I know they exist. They exist in more than one copy. I know that they exist at Runbeck because I've seen photographs of them. So I know they exist. And in fact, the email correspondence between the attorney for Ms. Lake and your office was that, hey, if you can't find your copy, could you get the copy at Runbeck for us?
Okay, so you know the forms exist, they just haven't been provided to you.
They haven't been provided in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
What do you
And
mean
Ms.
they
Honey,
just
I will
haven't
let
been
you know that
provided?
we believe you're being honest, that you don't believe you've received them. We take a different position. Do you think it's possible that you were provided them and you simply missed?
My wife is literally laughing at me, right? She just saw me for the first time with the glasses, and I apologize. I'm gonna have to pick up, my kids in a little bit. I gotta be out. My wife is literally laughing at me. She's seen me for the first time in her life with glasses on. We met in 2013, was it when we met? Would you stop? Yeah, 2012, I'm sorry, 2012. I'm not good with it. 2012 we met. This is the first time she's seen me with glasses. No, that's what you get for laughing. Well, I gotta go pick up the kids, so I'm gonna be out. Check out RSBN, and I will do a summary of everything. Try to put it in like a 5-minute to 10-minute video. Take care.